College football fanatics, welcome back. Fellow black and gold fans, welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. This is my instant reaction and recap to Iowa's 31-0 loss last night at State College versus Penn State. Happy Sunday morning to you. So yes, this may not be your typical instant reaction because quite frankly, there was a lot to unpack after what we saw last night. So I definitely had to go ahead and sleep on it a little bit and get my thoughts and my emotions in order. And thank the good Lord I did, because I was in no spot last night to do this late at night. As far as in what a game it was, and for all the wrong reasons for our Iowa Hawkeyes. My initial thoughts, as I like to do for these instant reaction and recap episodes, is, I guess, summarizing what we saw take place last night in one word. I thought a lot about this. What's the one word I could use to summarize that performance? Specifically on the offensive side of the ball would be impotent, which quite frankly means it just doesn't work. That's my initial thought out of the box. And for those of you, your first time joining me, thank you very much for your time, attention, and support of the channel. Please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe. I always welcome and ask for your participation. So Iowa fans, let me know what you think. What's your analysis and critique of what took place, what transpired last night? Penn State fans, I've also tagged you. I would love to hear from you as well. So please get involved, let your voice be heard, and I promise I will get back to you individually much sooner than later. My kind of, to wrap up my initial thoughts out of the box here and out of the gate, is congratulations. I mean, Penn State, this team looks legit, I am telling you. And I was a little bit not quite sold on young quarterback Drew Aller, but watching him last night, he is as advertised, the former #1 quarterback prospect in the class of 2022. He looks absolutely like the real deal. And this is a team that is going to challenge Michigan and Ohio State for the Big Ten East title. But this is absolutely a legitimate college football playoff contender. I really haven't watched them a lot this season, but they are absolutely going to be a factor until the end. So congratulations, big time victory for you guys. You showed up, you showed out. It was the annual whiteout game at State College last night inside Beaver Stadium. And it was a great performance all around by the Penn State ball team. Great game plan against the Hawkeyes. And you did what you needed to do, Penn State, to not let history repeat itself, which normally history does, because the last time Iowa was involved in the whiteout game in 2009, they were able to come into Beaver Stadium, shock the college football world, and leave with the victory. But y'all made sure that was not going to happen this season. So congrats to Penn State and quarterback Drew Aller. I can't wait to see how this young man progresses the rest of this season, but also the seasons to come, because he is the real deal. As far as the recap now, getting into the good, the bad, and the ugly, there's not really a lot to recap. Because there wasn't really a lot that happened from an Iowa perspective anyway. But silver linings of this 31-0 shellacking of Iowa. I'm going to start off with the front seven of Iowa. Okay, and I'm going to expand on this a little bit later. The front seven looks completely legit. They were all over the field. They didn't register a sack. Well, that's the one thing that I'm getting a little bit concerned with. We know that this is one of the strengths of the Iowa team this season. They are athletic. They're deep along the defensive line especially. but they're just not bringing the quarterback down. They're not getting two QBs enough. Their tackle for loss numbers are definitely up. So, I mean, it's 50-50. I mean, they registered 6 tackles for loss, but did not register a single sack. But that front seven, quite frankly, was just on the field pretty much the entire night, as was the rest of the defense, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. So they did what they could. I mean, they kept Iowa in the game. The defense does what they do. I mean, being 10-0 at halftime. But other than that, I mean, eventually the dam is going to break. And that's what happened that second half, especially Penn State's opening drive. They received the opening kickoff, drove it the length of the field for a touchdown, up 17-0, and you could tell that took all of the wind out of Iowa's sails. So the front seven did very well. I mean, I'm not upset with the Iowa front seven at all. The defensive backfield, in other words, they do need to tighten it up a little bit. All right, they just do. The other bright, shining light last night, even though it was a kind of a rough game. I mean, conditions off and on. It was raining, wind, so not a perfect night for football in Pennsylvania, but I got to give it to the punter from down under, my guy, Tory Taylor for Heisman. I mean, had a great game punting, which he usually does. We've gotten a little bit spoiled and used to that as Iowa fans. 7 punts for Tory Taylor. Average was 52 yards with a long of 62. 4 of those 7 inside the 20, and I believe 3 of those 4 were inside the 10. So he continues to do what he can to flip the field, set Iowa's defense up in prime time field position to get the offense to short field, but that just didn't happen last night. And I'll get to that more here in a little bit when I talk about the offensive offense that we saw. So that was really the shining stars for Iowa, is that front seven and Tory Taylor. Now, the shining stars for Penn State, I couldn't really say one individual player or group really stood out among everyone. I mean, it was a complete, dominant, total team victory. I mean, offensively, defensively, special teams, the coaching staff, they had a great plan to kind of neutralize Iowa's defense. So overall, I've got to give shining stars to Penn State team in general. I mean, you could tell right away that their game plan was, we're going to try to execute better, we're going to try to play cleaner, and we're just going to take what we can, all right? And we're not going to ask this young quarterback, facing probably the best defense he has all season, maybe even in his career, we're not going to ask him to do too much. And you could tell, to neutralize that Iowa front seven, a lot of checkdowns, quick outs to receivers and running backs out of the backfield, quick hitters to soften them up. Took a few shots downfield, converted some of them, but it was a great game plan. I mean, you could tell they were just simply going to wear Iowa out, and that's exactly what happened. It was a great game plan. The crowd was electric, as it always is during the whiteout there at Penn State. So shining stars, Penn State across the board. Great game. Now, my silver linings being done, now it's going to come down to what was just bad. And I wish I was Mr. Thesaurus. I wish I could say it better than bad. But this is the PG-13 channel here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. So I'm going to keep it family friendly. It is, like I said, Sunday morning after all. But let's just talk about what that huge, undeniable elephant in the room, and it has been for several seasons now, is just the Iowa offense. And we heard so much in the offseason about, the upgrades to positions, a new scheme, new players who have shown to be more competent and proficient. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. And even though it's new offense is the same as the old offense. These numbers that I'm about to share with you, all right, they are really perplexing and almost unbelievable, okay? getting shut out's one thing. I mean, you played a superior team. And for the record, both preseason and during last week's picks episode, I picked Penn State to win. They're the better team. All right. I'm not some Homer Simpson. I mean, I usually 98% of the time follow my head and not my heart for my Hawkeyes, our Hawkeyes. So I picked Penn State to win. And I was fairly certain that was going to happen, but not like that. I mean, so getting shut out is one thing, and that's the first time Iowa has been shut out since the year 2000. So it's been a while, okay? Usually this doesn't happen. But these numbers offensively, and I can't believe looking at these when I knew how bad they were, but when you see it on paper, it means even more, just jumps out at you. Okay, in the season of Halloween with jump scares, this is just scary. This is like a nightmare, okay? So, total offensive production for Iowa as an offense, and I believe 76 yards is all that we could manage total offense as a team. Simply, we had 4 first downs the entire night, even against Penn State's second and third stringers at the end of the game. We still couldn't get a lot going, okay? 4 first downs, 76 yards total, 4 turnovers. Just an ugly game. I mean, passing yards, 56 total for quarterback Cade McNamara, a mere 20 yards rushing for the Iowa offense. That's what, on 17 carries, that's average 1.2 yards per carry. Now, to be fair, they were down to their third and fourth string running backs last night. Jazzy Patterson and Caleb Johnson both have ankle injuries. I think they might be back next week against Michigan State. So to be fair, you had guys in there who just don't necessarily have the experience or the reps in there. So I will say that to be fair, but still, 20 yards rushing that's pathetic. I'm sorry. And 56 yards passing, this is just getting to be, and no matter what we saw last year offensively, and we knew how bad they were last year. I don't have to revisit that. We all know that they were the laughingstock of college football last year, but this is hands down the worst performance I've ever seen that I can remember as an Iowa fan watching my beloved Hawkeyes, and I've been a fan since I was 8 years old, and I'm 42 on this day today. It's not my birthday, but as of now, I'm 42 years old. But just seeing this unfold last night, it was brutal. It was hard on the eyes, okay? But that's just where we are. I mean, there's so many deficiencies right now. I believe wide receivers only had 1 reception last night. Let me verify that. Let's see, Iowa receiving. They had 2. 2 receptions by the perimeter players for Iowa. That's just not going to get it done. I mean, we added these wide receivers via transfer portal over the offseason, but has it really made any difference? No. I mean, they continue to just not be able to get separation, or maybe the offense is just too detailed, or maybe it's too difficult for them to execute, but having 2 receptions from your perimeter players, I mean, that's hard to imagine. All right, I can't. Tight ends, Eric All had 3 receptions for 35 yards. He was obviously Iowa's leading receiver last night. It's a crushing blow to have Luke Lachey, who is the best of these 2 stud tight ends, now be out for the season. Broken ankle last week against Western Michigan, unfortunately, out for the season. That hurts, and it's going to hurt Iowa because those duo of tight ends were Iowa's best weapons offensively. So, wow, I mean, it's just bad, guys. I mean, and I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, you can make any excuses that you want. You can point fingers saying it's this, it's that and this. There's so much There's so many things here that are just dysfunctional. You can't even connect the dots here. Everything offensively about Iowa is a shambles right now. And do I think we deserve better? Absolutely, as a fan base, we do. But this is what we have. And I think Iowa is still going to win. They're going to have a good season. Okay, and a lot of that is via the schedule. This is the hardest game that was on their schedule. So at least it's out of the way early. And hopefully they can learn from this to get better. But they're still going to have a solid season. I still project that. I projected 9-3 preseason with the loss against Penn State. All right. But there's just so many things wrong. You can't just start off with one thing. It's scheme, it's personnel, coaching, execution, it's everything. And I've got to say this right now, and I don't want to bring up the last 2 seasons, but I'm going to refer to it quickly, is what are we seeing? All right, the biggest problem with the Iowa offense, among all the problems, I mean, hell, take your pick, is their offensive line. I mean, to be fair to Cade McNamara and the Iowa rushing attack last night, if you want to even call it that, is the Iowa O-line that this year they're a year older. They have 4 starters returning from last year. This was supposed to be a strength for them. And they continue to underperform. They cannot pass protect. They can't open lanes, running lanes for their running backs. They lose the point of attack against everybody. They are completely getting outmanned, out-muscled, and out-executed. Most of the night, I mean, Cade McNamara was under duress and running for his life the entire night. Did not have time to really go through his routes. So maybe that's another reason why you only have 2 receptions from your wide receivers. That definitely played into it. And I believe Penn State registered 4 sacks on the night. Let's see. 3 sacks, but 5 tackles for a loss. I mean, just lived in the backfield. Okay, and you know what they were going to do late. Iowa was going to air it out to try to get back into the game. But they continue to just really, really underperform. And this is not what we're used to as Iowa fans. We're just not. So until that O-line gets fixed, it's not going to get any better. I mean, they'll be able to outperform teams that are less talented and experienced than them, but they're not going to be able to hold up against legit competition. They're just not. And that's got to get fixed. Some other things that are really concerning is obviously Brian Ferentz, the much embattled OC. I know right now I've read a lot of the social media sites, Iowa fan sites, people calling for him to be fired. But come on, we know that's not going to happen, guys. I mean, the nepotism is so in-depth there. They're so ingrained, the Ferentzes. That's not going to happen. He is not going to be fired during the season, folks. I mean, could he maybe, voluntarily once again, resign? Maybe. But they are not going to fire him. This is how it is. I mean, maybe go back to coaching the O-line, because under his tutelage, the O-line under Brian Ferentz was pretty solid. It was good. So maybe just take a demotion, transfer within the offense to that group, because the O-line is just awful. It's just bad. And that's the key to Iowa football, is you have to be strong in the trenches. You have to do it. So just a lot to work on offensively. I mean, this is just, it was really bad. And I mean, I'm still keeping my head involved. I'm still into it. I'm not going to sit there and be down and out and curse and swear. It doesn't ruin my weekend. But the defense, I got to give them a little shout out too. I mean, basically being down 10-0 at halftime. And that really was based on 2 turnovers that really hurt Iowa in the first half. I mean, their best drive of the night, their first drive, I believe, they got 2 out of their 4 first downs. Eric All ended up fumbling, trying to get a few more yards. And that was at that point, I believe, around the Penn State 30-yard line. So they were driving a little bit. And then the other one, a special teams miscue. A punt deflects off of one of the Iowa players, recovered by Penn State just across the 50-yard line in Iowa territory. So let's say they hold Penn State to a field goal, 2 field goals, or a touchdown. Let's say it's 7-0 at halftime. I mean, what more can you ask for this defense? You can't. I mean, and eventually they wore down. And I already said this, they were on the field the entire game. And how I can back that up, if you haven't seen the time of possession, this summarizes everything. Time of possession, Penn State 45 minutes and change to Iowa's 14 minutes and change. The defense on the field for 45 minutes, and Iowa offensively only ran 33 plays. You cannot expect anything from your defense when you're consistently put in positions, bad field position on the field that much. You just can't. I mean, I don't hold anything against the Iowa defense last night. I know it says the scoreboard, people might think otherwise, but they did not watch this game. All right, so hats off, a little bit of a tip of the hat to the Iowa defense. You deserve better. You just do. So that's where we are, guys. And the other thing that I saw, a lot of people are saying via social media, oh, the best thing to do, Iowa fans, is stop going to the games. Don't back the program. Don't support. That's not what a real fan does. All right. In times like this, and okay, if that's what you want to do, if that is your decision to sell your tickets, don't support them publicly, fine. Who am I to tell you not to? All right. If that's what you want to do to try to let your voice be heard or your amount of dissatisfaction, go ahead. But me, I think times like this is when your teams need the support as much as any other time. All right. So I'm going to continue to support this team. I am going to the homecoming game in 2 weeks against Purdue. There in Iowa City. I can't wait for that. So bear with it, but we're just going to have to live with it. We've made the beds. We're just going to have to sleep in them, Hawkeye fans. But there is some time for them to improve. The next 2 games, where do we go from here? Next week, Penn State travels to Northwestern, who got a big win yesterday in overtime over Minnesota. So there's always the chance to have a letdown game, but Penn State, they're not going to have any issue with Northwestern. Iowa goes back to Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City to host a really reeling Michigan State team. So I do think that's a good opponent to play next after what happened, to get yourself up off the mat with everything that's going on, all the chaos at Michigan State. And then after that, they play Purdue. So 2 winnable games in my perspective. Okay, so they do have time to try to right the ship, work some things out, but we're not going to see this offense evolve, do a total 180 this season, guys. It just isn't going to happen. So that's where we go from here. Overall now, Penn State improves to 4-0 overall, 1-0 in Big Ten Conference play. Iowa falls to 3-1 overall, 0-1 in Big Ten Conference play. And that's all I have to say about that. Like Forrest Gump would say, please, guys, get involved. I want to hear your comments. Iowa fans, Penn State fans, hey, college football fans alike, let me know what you think about what you saw last night, or even offensively the last couple seasons. How can it be solved? What should we do? What can we do? And what should we expect? So please, I want to hear from you. Thank you for your time and attention. I hope you've had an excellent weekend. Enjoy the rest of the day. I will be back tomorrow for my big Week 4 review and recap episode, so be looking for that tomorrow. So please subscribe, get those notifications. See you soon, and thank you for joining me on this episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. Have a good day. Bye-bye.